Memorial Day deals are here at Lowe's. Get up to 40% off select major appliances, including Samsung. Plus, save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Like the Samsung Bespoke AI Laundry Combo, the largest capacity, fastest, all-in-one laundry combo available that washes and dries in one machine. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid 5/15 through 6/18. Selection varies by location. Total savings varies based on purchase amount. See Lowe's.com for details.
Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right. Hey, my beautiful people. Well, welcome to Transfer Tuesday here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. I'm your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am truly grateful that you have chosen to spend your time with me today. Now, as we continue through our May series on nurturing relationships, I find myself at a very interesting intersection. You see, this month is not only about exploring healthy connections here on the Season of Self-Love, but it's also our Mental Health Awareness Month. And over on our Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, we've been having some very powerful conversations about the intersection of love and mental health. Well, today I want to share something deeply personal with you. This past weekend, I've experienced a very challenging situation with a family member who I know is struggling with mental health issues. It was one of those moments that life hands you, exactly when you need it. A real-time lesson in everything that we've been discussing about boundaries, that we've been discussing about forgiveness and nurturing relationships, especially when mental health is involved. But before we dive in, I want to take a quick break, all right? It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. And we'll be right back.
Ready to transform how you think about love and mental health? This May, join host Nyomi Banks and Dr. Will Washington and expert guests on Love and Mental Health, a powerful 4-part series exploring relationships through the lens of mental wellness. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap. Do you have a story to share? Your experience matters. Email us at asknyomi@gmail.com and be part of the conversation that's changing lives.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome back. Before we get into today's topic, I want to let's ground ourselves with a mindful moment. All right. So if you can just find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Now take a deep breath in. Now exhale gently through your mouth. Let's repeat that again. And this time when you inhale, I want you to inhale compassion and exhale judgment. Now I want you to imagine someone that you love who's struggling. And I want you to see them not through the lens of their behavior or their diagnosis, but through the lens of their humanity. Notice any tension that arises in your body as you hold this image. Breathe into the tension, allowing it to soften. Now I want you to visualize a beautiful light connecting you and this person. Not a chain that binds you to their struggles, but a bridge of love that allows you to remain connected while honoring your own needs and boundaries. Now take one more deep breath in, embracing the possibilities of loving someone deeply while still protecting your own peace. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes, and we're going to carry this awareness with you through today's episode, all right? Well, all right, my beautiful people, if you are new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, this mindful moment is something that we do every day, Monday through Friday, just to help ground us before we get into the topic at hand. So this weekend, I found myself in a very difficult situation with a family member who I deeply love, but who has been recently diagnosed with borderline bipolar disorder. Now, I'm not a mental health professional, and I'm going to be honest, I don't fully understand what this diagnosis means. But what I do understand is the pain of watching someone who you love struggle with refusing help. You know, a few weeks back, I had shared about an incident about setting boundaries with a dear friend of mine who crossed into a political territory during our conversation. And that was challenging. But in some ways, this situation with my family member feels even more complex and heartbreaking. You know, as someone whose purpose in life is to help and assist others, it's particularly painful to see a loved one going through difficulties and not being able to fix it for them. You know, I want to reach out. I want to pull them close. I want to somehow make everything better. But this experience has taught me something just so profound about delicate balance between loving someone and enabling them. You see, when I was listening to tomorrow's guest, Mia, she talked about her experience with narcissistic abuse. And I couldn't help but to notice some patterns that I felt familiar in my interactions with this family member. And I hesitate to use the word narcissist because I think it's a term that gets thrown around just too casually these days. But there were definitely behaviors that made me pause and reflect on how I've been showing up in this relationship. So one thing that really hit me during our Ask Nyomi live show last Thursday, when we had our guest Alex Alasanda here, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. But she mentioned something that completely shifted my perspective. I remember when she talked about the importance of not treating the diagnosis, but about seeing the person. And the crazy thing is that when I saw my family member this weekend, I just really found out about the diagnosis. So I didn't know that that message that she said to me was said to all of us that was listening, that it will be in real time for me this weekend. But then when I really realized about, you know, we know that something's going on with that person. We knew there was something going on with that person. But what I realized is that I've been doing exactly that. I've been focusing on them, the problem. And honestly, I was like given a diagnosis myself, which I know is totally wrong. But you always try to find the answer or the reason. And that's where their diagnosis come in. But then I love how she said that defines and connects them to something. So instead of us giving them a label, why can't it be just them as a person, a whole person? And that stuck with me. And I needed that, especially for this weekend. You know, I also tried to approach the situation differently. You know, I thought about the Shades of Gray exercise that I shared with you all a couple of weeks ago, looking beyond the black and white of thinking, of that they're just being difficult, you know, or that person just being difficult, or it's just their mental illness. But to find the truth that's in between, you know, all of that, a why. But what I did discover was eye-opening. Yes, my family member is struggling with mental health challenges, but they're also experiencing real pain. They're experiencing real fear, real frustration. And their behavior might be difficult for me to deal with, but behind that behavior is such a beautiful human person just trying to navigate the world that sometimes feels so overwhelming for them. But at the same time, I have to confront my own patterns in this relationship. I realize that in my desire to help, I sometimes cross my own boundaries. I take on responsibilities that isn't mine, and I exhaust myself trying to save someone who hasn't even asked to be saved. They haven't even asked to be saved. So Dr. Will and I, we talked a little bit yesterday about forgiveness, and something he said that really resonated with me in light of this weekend experience. He talked about how forgiveness isn't just about letting go. It's about creating a new lens through which we see our relationships. It's about expressions rather than the ideology of it. In learning to forgive both my family member and myself for the behaviors that have hurt me and myself for not always showing up in the healthiest way. This forgiveness isn't about excusing any harmful behavior or about releasing any emotional charge so I can respond from a place of clarity rather than reacting. I had a long conversation with my husband just earlier yesterday. And in that conversation, I remember we were talking about this, and I told him that I was going to share part of this story today because I was saying it was so ironic that that literally this was happening again in real time while we're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, as well as we're talking about nurturing relationships. And there was a question that I remember asking Dr. Will and Alex last Thursday because I shared a story about a family that was supporting a loved one who had really bad mental illness. The depression is really bad, and he had tried to unalive himself several different times. And the wife, she actually was posting the whole journey of him going back and forth from the clinic or the institute, and they were actually trying to raise money for the funding to get him into this program. And I remember reading their story, but also going to her page, and you see the love. You see the love that's in each one of those pictures. So you would never have thought that this person will take the whole entire family life as well as his own. So when I think about that woman, not only as a wife, but as a mother, that she definitely had to be torn. Someone that's all she knew was her husband. They were high school sweethearts. And so I thought about that this weekend going through this with my loved one. And I remember in the interchange that we had, and I remember saying, okay, we're just going to agree to disagree, and I'm just going to go here, and you're going to go there. And when that loved one had left, I was upset. And my upset came with is that I didn't use my tools to respond and not react. And I think it caught me off guard. It was like a surprise, and it caught me off guard. And so when I sat with it for a few hours, in a few days, I sat with it, and I said, this is the lessons that I've been learning and I've been talking about. And this is what I talk about to my clients, and I'm having this in real time right now, that I have to truly use all of this. And, it's like, well, how much do you take? That's a great question. And I'm going to be very honest. I honestly don't have the answers, because at one day I can be at my wit's end. And then at another moment when I see that person, it can be like, okay, I'm at a better place that I can handle it better. And so if anyone is listening to me right now, you are going through that with a loved one that is going through something like that, I want you to have compassion with yourself on what your next move or what you would say. I would love for you to, in a second, just stop, take a deep breath in, listen to listen. And then if you're able to respond and not react and lead in love, that's a beautiful thing. And even if it takes you a few days to get there, I have to laugh, because even if it takes you a few days to get there, yeah. As I said before, I'm learning to forgive my family member and myself for that interaction that we had this weekend. And I've been dealing with a migraine all weekend long and still just moving with it. But I felt like sharing this story today is because you never know when something is just dropped on you. And even in that moment, just thinking about it throughout the weekend, it was like, I think about my mom with her dementia. I think about how confused she is at times, and I do not fault or blame her. I have so much compassion for her, and I'm right there with her. And so I said, am I the same way? Do I need to be the same way with this family member? Do I need to be the same way with this family member? And even when I go look it up, I can't find nothing on that, and it's like, okay, where are you going to go, get some more help for? No, I'm good. My husband looking like, what the hell? They just give me stuff because they want to give me some medicine, and I ain't taking no medicine. Yeah. It was so ironic. I remember asking the question on Thursday. This is so wild. I asked the question on Thursday, what if the family member doesn't want any help? They don't want to seek the help. And I think I asked that the following week. So never knowing that question would be for me about a very beautiful, dear family member. I didn't think that would apply to me in my life or within my family members. I did not know that. But let me continue. So what I did learn is about boundaries, so that I had to set boundaries with family members. And it's hard to see what that looks like when setting boundaries for family members with mental health, because it looks different than other boundaries. It looks different. Because in that, it's like you need to be firm and compassionate. You need to be clear, but not rigid. And most importantly, they need to be set with love. But this is the thing. You can be thinking that you're really doing it and you setting it in love and you got a smile on your face, the arm out. But whatever they're in that moment in time is what they're going to receive. And so in that process, you have to sit there and say, okay, it's not about me. I can't take it seriously. I understand. But right now, that person is scared. That person is confused. That person is overwhelmed. So I want to give y'all some insights of what I gained from this experience, that if any of this ever happens to you, or you ever find yourself in this situation, and just to help you to navigate of any similar situation like this, first is to go educate yourself, but don't become an expert. And see, and for me, because I am a certified life coach, I had psychology classes. I've done all of those things, but that's my thing. I can't go in thinking that I know more than them. Because I do research on everything. But I also have to be careful not to think that I know more than them about their own experience, because it's their experience. It's their experience. It's their experience. And learning that is so very important. I don't want to share this, but also humility is as well. Second, set clear boundaries around what behaviors you will and won't accept. Mental health challenges may explain certain behaviors, but they don't make those behaviors less harmful to you. So you can have compassion for someone's struggle while still protecting yourself from their impact. Third, practice what I call compassionate detachment. This means caring deeply without taking responsibilities for outcomes that you can't control. I can love my family member without trying to fix them. I can offer my family support without making their healing my project. The funniest thing is I was at my altar today and I got a message about me being there. What was it? Being there to witness, but not being there to save. And I did not know what that meant. But now that I am doing this episode right here, I know what that meant. I know what that meant. Because I will find a way to, that's just me, but find a way to try to help, but that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And maybe whoever listening to this right now, maybe this is for you too. Don't do that. It's not for you to fix it. You can still support them. And fourth, recognize the difference between helping and enabling. Sometimes we feel like helping or covering them or making excuses or solving their problems actually prevents them from facing the natural consequence that might motivate the change. And I'm going to raise my hand because that was me. That was me. Until I saw it. I saw it with my raw eyes. And I can laugh about it because you know how you just be standing on the outside looking at yourself and like, wow. Because you've seen it. But no, you think like, well, no, I can't. But yeah, I seen it. So there will be no more excuses. There will be no more covering up. There will be no more solving problems for me. And then finally, prioritizing your own mental health. We say it all the time. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are depleted from trying to support someone else, you are not actually helping them or yourself. You're actually damaging them more. And I'll be honest with you all, implementing these, it hasn't been easy. It has not been easy. There have been tears, difficult conversations, and there has been moments that I really wanted to give up and shut it all down, block number, everything. But I keep coming back to the truth of it all. When loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself on the altar of their struggles. That's the fundamental truth. Loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself on the altar for their struggles. I can still support that loved one. My boundaries just going to look different. The way that I implement them, the way that I apply them, the way that I enforce them is going to look different. You know, I want to talk about last week real quick. How she reminded us last Wednesday about self-care, about taking care of ourselves. That isn't selfish, but it's necessary. So when we're dealing with loved ones struggling with mental health, this becomes even more crucial. And I also think about Dr. Will, what he said on Monday about forgiveness being an expression rather than just an idea, about the way that we're choosing to express forgiveness in situations by creating space for family members to be exactly where they are in their journey. And I thought about that this weekend. And I thought about that even with my dear friend. And then about the space for myself to maintain my own peace, regardless of their choices. And this brings me to something I want to share with you about a practice. Here go another practice. And we're going to call this practice loving from a distance. That's what we're going to call this practice. It's a way to hold someone in your heart without becoming entangled in their chaos. And here's how it works. I want you to find a quiet moment. And I want you to visualize that person. Visualize that person that you love, but with whom you need boundaries. See them surrounded by light, whole and healed, even if that's not their current reality. And send them love, well wishes, prayers, whatever aligns with your belief system. Then visualize a healthy, beautiful space between you. Not a wall, but a garden perhaps where you both can be there, visit when the conditions are right. You see, this practice, and not only for the loved one this weekend, but for several loved ones that this has helped me with, just to maintain an emotional connection while still honoring the physical or the psychological distance that might be necessary for mine and their well-being. It reminds me that I can love someone deeply without being consumed by their struggles. Well, y'all know tomorrow is Wisdom Wednesday, and we'll be talking with Mia Hanks about recognizing narcissistic abuse and setting boundaries with those who exhibit these patterns. While I hesitate to label my family member, and I won't say members, I know this is a conversation will offer valuable insights for anyone navigating complicated relationships where mental health is a factor. So here's my question for you today. How do you maintain your own boundaries and self-love while supporting someone with mental health challenges? And what has worked for you? And what hasn't? I love to hear your experience and wisdom. Remember, my beautiful people, that nurturing relationships doesn't always mean staying physically or emotionally close. Sometimes the most loving thing that we can do, both for ourselves and that other person, is to create a space, set boundaries, and love from a distance. If you're in a situation like mine, please know that you are not alone. There's no perfect way to navigate this intersection of love, boundaries, and mental health. We are all just doing our best with the tools and the understanding that we have. So before we wrap today, I want to offer a couple of resources that have been helpful for me. The National Alliance of Mental Health, NAMA, has a support group specifically for family members and those with mental illness. And the book, Stop Walking on Eggshells by Paul Mason and Randy Krager. That's a good one. I actually remember doing an ebook with self-love, and I remember using one of Randy's books for that, but it's a great writer. It's been very enlightening on understanding borderline personalities dynamics. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, we'll be joined by Mia Hanks to talk about narcissistic abuse and just setting boundaries. And on Thursday, we'll continue exploring delicate balancing of loving someone while protecting our own peace. And if this episode has resonated with you, please share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to download the free Year of Rebirth workbook from our website with journal prompts to help you to reflect on your own relationships and boundaries. So until tomorrow, I want you to remember that you are allowed to love someone and still care for yourself. You are worthy of peace even when those you love are struggling. And your healing journey matters just as much as anyone else's. Again, I want to thank you for just joining me here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. And you all have an amazing day. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovering and empowerment here at the Season of Self-Love podcast. Remember, embracing self-love is a continuous journey, and we're so glad to have you with us. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And don't forget to join our community on Facebook at Season of Self-Love. Connect with like-minded individuals who are also on their self-love journey. Now, if you have any questions or topics that you'd like for us to explore, we love to hear from you. Email us at seasonofselflove@gmail.com and let your voice be heard. So until next time, take a moment for yourself today and remember, you are worthy of love, joy, and all the beautiful things that life has to offer.